I feel the Spirit moving in me. I feel the Spirit moving in me.
All right. You know, one of my favorite stories about cultivating habits comes from the legendary author Ernest Hemingway. You know, Hemingway was renowned for his captive way of writing and his sort of pared down writing style, as well as his adventurous, uh, globe-trotting lifestyle. But what a lot of people don't know is that he had a quirky habit. And his habit was when he would write, he would stop his writing for the day mid-sentence, right? So that when he got back in, when he picked up his writing the next day, he could jump right in to where he was because he knew where he was going. And that was an amazing habit that sparked him to be present in the moment and recall that amazing gift that he had to write. And for us, we're looking at atomic habits that we can adapt in our life to kind of do the same thing, to springboard us into our creativity, to springboard us into being the truth and the essence and the powerful beings that we are. So this is the third week of our 5-week series titled Atomic Habits for Spiritual Transformation. And of course, this series is inspired by James Clear's book, Atomic Habits. And I saw this book and I read excerpts from this book and I thought, wow, I love this book, right? Because it's teaching us how to have habits that are simple and small and have a huge effect on our lives. And what I realized was our atomic habits are our spiritual practices. And so my intention with this talk is to inspire you to up-level your spiritual habits. And we're going to talk about how we can do that today, right? Our atomic habits are our spiritual practices. So we started this series with small steps, big changes, and we looked at how minuscule things, right? Tiny habits that we have, whether it's saying a prayer or an affirmation, to start our day can affect the quality and the connection that we have with Spirit for the entire day. Last week, we looked at what is your desire for your life? And I listed a bunch of desires and invited you to pick one or two and to create an affirmation out of them, and then to use that affirmation this week to really connect you with Spirit, with the desires that are in you and mean a lot for you. We really want to make these good habits inevitable, and that's what we're talking about today. How can we make these spiritual practices that we have inevitable, right? And to make the things that we desire by practicing these habits become inevitable. Not just something we're hoping for, right? Not just something that's out there, but actual tools that we can use to connect our heart, our mind, our spirit with what we're doing, so we bring that essence into everything we do. You know, if we make our habits inevitable, we practice them consistently, right? And as we practice them, they become effortless. And that's the whole idea. And a lot of what we're talking about today is how do we move past that place of resistance, right? So that the things that we do, the things that we love, the habits that we have become effortless. take a breath and does that feel that? What does it feel like to live a effortless spiritual life? Wouldn't you like that? Anybody? Yes? And we know and we hear all the time that these practices that we have are about improving our well-being, right? They're about improving our lives. They're about improving our thinking, improving the way we feel, improving the way we interact in the world. And as a result, they create resilience, right? They make us resilient. Resilient means what? Bouncing back, yes. We're strong, we're flexible, we are adaptable to life. And of course, practicing these atomic habits make us or have a ripple effect, right? Because they affect everything that we do, they affect the people that we interact with, and they affect the world in general. So, ever have any resistance to your spiritual practice? None of you, right? I know I'm speaking to the wrong crowd. A couple people told me that they didn't like the exercise we did last week of creating an affirmation, right? And they found they had a resistance to it. I thought, wow, isn't that interesting? We sometimes have resistance to the very things that offer us the greatest gifts in our lives. Wow. Why do we do that? So I wonder for you, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand, but did you take the affirmation that you wrote last week and did you practice it this week? 3 of you. All right. Right? So some people, might have said, and God bless you if you did, like, well, I don't need this, right? This takes too much work, right? You put it somewhere, you leave it in your car. But I know I have one in my car and I have one on my desk in my office. And I looked at them frequently this week. Now, I'm not saying, that I'm better than you are, but it might be true. I've always wanted to say that. That's right. Oh, boy. Yeah. Forget about I can't tell you what I'm thinking because I have some resistance to expressing my thoughts. And it should be so, because if you knew what I was thinking, you would love me like I love myself. So the idea is to kind of look at if you had some resistance to doing this, what we did last week. And it's okay, right? But I just want you to look at it. I've found myself, one of my favorite things to do is to play the ukulele. I'm not great at it, but I love it, and I love the way I feel after I play it, right? It's like I feel like connected, I feel alive, right? But sometimes it's the last thing I do, right? Often I play the ukulele when I've finished writing my talk, right? And sometimes it takes me 2 or 3 days to write this talk. And sometimes I put it off and I won't play it until I've finished my talk. Sometimes I play it on Sunday afternoon because I'm done preparing for this service. The thing that I enjoy the most, one of the things I enjoy the most, I put off to the end of my day or end of my week. Why is that? Why do we do that? I don't think I'm the only one. I'm the only one who's standing up here admitting it, but I bet that you do the same thing. You can sometimes just put off the thing that you desire the most. And it's like, well, what's that about? Why is that resistance there? right? Why don't I do the thing that I love the most first thing in the morning? Maybe it's, maybe not doing the affirmation is because you're afraid of change, right? Maybe it's you want to do what's easy. What's easy for me sometimes is to go on YouTube and look at all the YouTube videos. Anybody else do that? That's like my source of news these days, right? You want to see what everybody's doing, right? And I can find that, how do I find that I feel terrible after I've spent 10 minutes looking at YouTube videos, right? There's a few of them that are inspirational, but most of the time it's like, you want to see what Mr. T's doing, right? And and not the guy with all the jewelry, but but it's like, what is that about? Why am I choosing the easy road instead of taking the road that is feeding me the most? Wow. But resistance doesn't have to be the enemy. The first step in any kind of transformation is realization. And so what I am, for me, realizing where I'm spending my time and how I'm spending my time, that's the gift. Because from here, I can change that. So I know I've had some resistance about this. And I think the reason that I picked this book is because I don't feel like I need any more habits, right? But I know in some sense that I want to up level my spiritual practices, right? True for you too? Anyone? Isn't that why we're here, right? Because we want to keep moving up. So I thought it'd be kind of fun since maybe I'm doing this just for me, and all of what I admit I do for me anyway, but hoping that working through some of this resistance will help you as well. So let's do a little practice of letting go of resistance. And I like this, you might call this a denial, or I like to call it a release statement. And so when you're feeling some resistance to that which part of you knows you should be doing, we can recite this statement. And that is, I let go of any resistance to using my atomic habits. I let go of any resistance to my spiritual practices. And just feel that with me. Just feel that possibility of just letting that resistance go. Right? Because we say, oh, it takes too much time, or I don't have the energy. It's like, what else is more important? Let's let go of that resistance. So take a breath with me, breathing in and breathing out. And feel that resistance floating away. It's almost like you can see it, right? And feel it and just imagine that it is vanishing. And as we visualize that, let's say it together, this release statement: I let go of any resistance to using my atomic habits or spiritual practices, whichever. Let's use spiritual practices. I think that's one we can relate to a little easier. So we'll breathe in, we'll breathe out, and then we'll say this statement together. So breathing in, breathing out, together. I let go of any resistance to using my spiritual practices. Breathe that in and feel how that feels. To feel the lightness in your mind, in your body, in your spirit. And so just imagine, to know, to visualize yourself letting these things go, letting this resistance go. And then it's always good to, after we've released something, to affirm that which we want. And so this is an affirmation based on that denial or that releasing statement. We've let them go, and now we want to fill our consciousness with the truth, with that which we desire. And so my atomic habits produce inevitable positive results. And you could also say, my spiritual practices produce inevitable positive results. So, in the same way, we'll breathe in, breathe out, and then affirm this together. All right? Breathing in, breathing out. Let's say it together. My spiritual practices produce inevitable positive results. And now feel that. And we're conditioning our minds with this truth, with this idea. We're changing the neural pathways and setting the structure, the formation, the vacuum to place these ideas in. So, I've listed up here 10 different spiritual practices. And I bet all of you do one or two or maybe a few of them. So I'm going to offer a challenge for you today. And my challenge is to pick one of these spiritual practices and to add it to whatever you're currently doing. Right? Anybody have any resistance to one more practice? You might, and if you do, just recognize that. You know, and someone said one time that a minister's job is to comfort the afflicted and to afflict the comfortable. Right? And so think of it, that's not why I'm doing this. I just think that's kind of a funny quote that is kind of true, because that's why you love me and why you hate me, right? Because I'm here to encourage you to develop your spiritual practice and at the same time to offer you some opportunities and some challenges in doing that. So now you might choose meditation, which is to spend more time just being in the silence or listening to a guided meditation, however that works for you. You might practice prayer. You might create some affirmations as we're doing as part of this program. You might do a gratitude practice. You know, we have a practice we do every day before we go to bed. We list a bunch of stuff that we're grateful for that happened that day. You might want to incorporate a visualization into your practice to visualize, as we practiced last week, visualize what it is that your highest self wants to be. And you can make that real practical and make that be in any specific area of your life, right? Or you could practice some yoga. I have to say, I have some resistance for whatever reason to doing yoga, even though I know it feels great when I've done it. Or in some inspirational reading. I think a lot of us probably enjoy that and have a history of doing that, don't you? And so just to make that part of your daily practice, or this is an easy one, to be in nature, right? To go to the beach, to sit outside, to sit on your lanai, and just be in that place where you can just feel the presence and the wonder of nature. Or to listen to spiritual or inspirational music. And there's all kinds of resources on the internet to lock into that. You know, some of the musicians that we play music from here, from Karen Drucker to Daniel Nahmod, to who else? Hmm? Oh, Peter Mayer. Oh, my goodness. Yes. And just spend some time listening to music. That doesn't sound like such a tough homework assignment, does it? Nobody answers. Are y'all here still? You're like, the resistance has taken control and you've checked out. I know. Or to be creative in some way. Oh, when we're creative, we're building new neural pathways. We're opening our mind. We're alive when we're creative. When you're creative, you're alive. Find some way to be creative. Okay, so you got one. Does everybody have a piece of paper and a pencil? If you don't, raise your hand, and one of our amazing ushers will see that you do. Anybody not have one? Looks like we're good. Oh no, he's going to make us work again. I didn't come to church to work. All right, we're on you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. All right. So I've got a couple ideas for creating an affirmation. And remember, an affirmation is a positive, powerful statement that speaks directly to your intentions and resonates with your core beliefs and is present in this moment. So you could say, for example, I am joyfully practicing meditation daily, or I am joyfully practicing gratitude practice daily, or I am joyfully practicing yoga daily, right? And the idea, of course, is we want to create enthusiasm, and we want it to be fun, and we want to be joyful about it, right? This we want our spiritual practice to be uplifting and fun, don't we? It'd be a lot easier to do it if it's fun. So we want to create that energy of making this be a fun part of the day and not the Rev told me I got to practice my affirmations or do yoga. Or we want to make it fun. So we want to build that enthusiasm and that joy into it. So we want to, and as you're writing it, just really feel that which you desire. Write it in a joyful way. Like, wow, I get to practice meditation more. Wow, I'm excited. I'm enthusiastic about being out in nature, about going to the beach, about reading some inspirational material that's going to lighten me up, enliven me. Anybody feel excited about this? Yes. Okay, so what kind of things have you written? You have to say the whole thing. Just tell me, what specific practice you're going to practice. And I think, stating it out loud to an audience gives it power, right? Because we hear it, and, we could hold you accountable. Yes.
Working every single day to do these exercises and to ride my recumbent bike. But I feel like it takes away from my being able to just do something else that I need to do. So that's an hour that I spend doing that. But what I've incorporated is the affirmation and also gratitude. And so I can say exactly what I'm doing. And it is I'm joyfully practicing exercise and gratitude daily.
Perfect.
So I've got all of that covered in an hour.
Excellent. So you're practicing gratitude and affirmations, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so and exercise. Yes. So what else? Just yell out the don't give me the whole affirmation. Just tell me the specifics of what you're doing. Painting. Yes. Well, being creative. Yes.
My newest habit is
Visualization. Yeah. Love that. Joy. Movement, right? Moving the bod. Yes.
Tuning into the divine love light, which brings me clarity
Oh, tuning into love light. And I'm glad you mentioned that because the the examples I give you aren't finite, right? You are welcome to create and bring your own, what's perfect for you into this exercise. Doesn't have to be the things that I listed. Bodhi. Oh, riding your bike and drawing. Yes, good for you. Exercise and being creative. I love that. You had your hand up.
I remember every day to experience the spiritual joy of nature, gratitude, and music.
Wow, nature, gratitude, and music. I can feel that. Yes. All right, who else?
Oh, I'm enthusiastically reading inspirational material.
Ah. I'm enthusiastically reading spiritual material. Yes, I love it. All right, and that's beautiful. So now what I encourage you to do is to write this out, maybe even write it out in a few different places. And remember the old days we used to talk about putting it on your mirror, right? Put it in your car, put it in your pocket, but take it with you and put it someplace that makes it visible so that you practice it, right? And I know I've been doing this, and I can already feel the energy. Mine from last week was I'm creative and experiencing spiritual growth, and I feel that happening. And so the idea is to put these things into place, and then make them be active, make them be things that you are doing. James Clear says that it's important to, he uses a 20-second rule and a 2-minute rule. And he says it's important that when we introduce a new habit, that we're able to do it in 20 seconds, right? Does it take 20 seconds to read this? It doesn't, does it? So that in adapting this new habit, it only takes a few seconds. Now, if you want to do something like meditation, it's pretty hard to do a meditation in 20 seconds, right? And so that's where he's saying, okay, then do it. Just do it for 2 minutes, right? Sometimes we think about meditation, it has to be like, oh, we have to spend, 20 minutes or half an hour or an hour in meditation. Just spend 2 minutes, right? If you're starting an exercise program, right, and we have all these things you want to do, and you're finding you're resistant to it, just do it for 2 minutes. Just say, you know what, I'm just going to exercise for 2 minutes. And usually what happens is when you get into it and you do that 2 minutes, you find what happens? You don't want to stop. You get excited about it. Your adrenaline goes up. Your chemicals in your brain go up, and you want to continue it. So my request for you for this week, and I'll ask you about it next week, and if you don't show up, I'm going to assume that you didn't do it. And I'm going to have my prayer chaplains call you, because certainly you need a prayer if that's the case. All right. So the 20-second rule and the 2-minute rule. Anybody familiar with Hiroki? I have to look at pronouncing his name to make sure I get it close. Murakami, right? He's a Japanese author, and he had this amazing routine where every day he wakes up at the same time, and he spends his time. He's a writer, and he spends his early morning writing, and then he goes out for a precise 10-kilometer run every day. And he attributes his success to the routine that he has, right? Because as he's running, he's thinking about the writing he's going to do, right? And so that one habit lends itself to his creativity and his writing. And he says it helps to free him up and get the energy moving so that he can come home and write some more and be creative. So whether it's a 2-minute affirmation, or whether it's a 20-second affirmation or a 2-minute meditation, I invite you to adapt these habits, these tiny little atomic habits. And James Clear calls them atomic because they're tiny, right? But in the same way, an atom is a building block of everything in the universe. These atomic habits are small and they have a huge effect on our lives. So I invite you this week to practice your atomic habits, and I know that you will be transformed as a result. And so, in the style of Ernest Hemingway, I'd like to say this to you. The world is waiting for the gifts that only you can bring. I'm honored to have shared this time with you, and I can't wait for to say this affirmation with you. My atomic habits produce inevitable positive results. Let's say that together. My atomic habits produce inevitable positive results. I invite you to close your eyes. Breathing in, breathing out. So let's use this meditation time as a visualization time to visualize that which you have claimed today, this spiritual practice that you're going to incorporate into your life. And so I invite you to imagine that that's happening right now. To see yourself meditating, to see yourself out in nature, to see yourself riding your bike, being creative, painting, drawing, playing music. Breathe in, breathe out. And feel what it feels like in your body, in your mind, to do this activity. Imagine you can feel the excitement, that you can feel the joy, that you can feel the love for yourself that comes as a result of doing this work, living life joyful, feeling your mind, your spirit expanding, seeing your life in a new perspective, to see yourself as the powerful embodiment of love that you are, a powerful expression of truth, to see yourself living the passion that your heart desires, that your spirit desires, that your higher self desires for you. Breathing in and breathing out. Let's just sit for a moment and let all of these thoughts and feelings bubble up inside you. breathing out. As you imagine, as you visualize yourself practicing these atomic habits, these spiritual practices every day. And as you bring your awareness and your attention back to your breath, as you bring your awareness back to this moment, I invite you to open your eyes. And so it is. Namaste.
Alrighty. So, and now it's time for our offering, where if you feel so inclined to support this ministry and this mission, we gratefully accept it. We're so blessed to have this home on Maui and this church and this facility and all the volunteers and all the people that make it all happen. And we're so grateful for the contributions from those who can to help keep the lights on and to help us continue to offer this service of love and music and everything. So there are many ways that you can give. There's our website. We've got the address if you want to just mail a check. And we also are going to pass the basket right now. And on our website, we also have the PayPal link should you decide to do that. So whatever it is, whether you're giving online or giving right now today, let's hold that, those green pieces of paper, that check, that consciousness, and remember that it's just part of that divine flow. We are being nurtured at every moment by an infinite spirit. And we're so blessed for the opportunity to give back some of that, to go in the circulation and say, I would like to circulate some of this good over to where I feel it's doing good. So as you hold that together, we will say our offering prayer, which is right up on the screen there together. Through a grateful, giving heart, my mind and life overflow with the abundance of God's all-providing infinite supply. On behalf of Unity of Maui, we gratefully receive these gifts. We tithe upon them ourselves, and we give 10% to the areas that nurture us and give us spirituality. So we are humbled and grateful to receive these gifts of nurturing and source and put them to use for the passion and the purpose and who we are as Unity of Maui. Thank you. All right, more great music. How about this? Are we blessed or what? What an honor to be up here with great musicians.
That was Sacagawea Lullaby from one of Ken Burns' wonderful documentaries.
Oh, thank you. Awesome. All right. So now we get to today's exciting announcements. But wait, you also get flower. Thank you. Thank you for the contributions, the collection. These are our default flowers. They're always standing by, but you are welcome to bring flowers if you would like any week, and give them in the name of whoever you would like to have them up as a tribute. And you can even take the flowers with you at the end of the day. So if you'd like to sign up to bring flowers, there's a sheet right there in the back of the room there. And for the rest of the announcements, I think shall turn it back over to our fearless leader, Reverend Blaine here.
All right. Thanks, Adam. Let's give Adam a big hand for stepping up here and being in the spotlight for a short time. Well, as you know, our dear friend and leader of our choir, and she was a devoted member of Unity on Maui for a number of decades, and that's Kachina, of course, and she passed, I think it was a week ago Saturday. And so we're going to have a celebration of life for her on June 9th, on Sunday, and her son is coming from the mainland, and he is going to bring a bunch of food for us. And so about 12 o'clock, we'll have lunch together, and he's asked that we not do like a formal memorial service or celebration of life, but just let it be kind of impromptu. And so Louise and I and a few other musicians are looking at what we might bring to the table that day. And so we want to invite you all to come to celebrate our beloved Kachina and all the love and the service she brought to Unity. And I'm hoping that I can find some videos of some of our services when she was here, and show her leading our amazing choir. So plan for that. That'll be Sunday, June 9th, from 12 till 3. And let's see, next week my talk is titled Atomic Habits to Overcome Challenges. Now, I'm probably the only one, admittedly, or the only person that's able to stand up at this time and admit they have challenges. Or the only one that wants to stand up and admit they have challenges. So next week I thought it would be interesting to, what are some atomic habits, some spiritual practices that we can put into place to help us kind of smooth out the challenges that we experience in our life. So I invite you to come for that. That'll be happening right here at 10 o'clock next Sunday. And you can be like the guy in the picture and break those chains and be free to be the highest and best expression of yourself that you can be. And like always, I wrote this summary of my talk, of the points of my talk. I call it Walk Your Talk, hoping that you'll take it and walk with it and use it in your life. And it's available on the back table. I think it's blue today. So please help yourself to a copy of that as you leave today. And so without further ado, and without doing anything further, I'd like to invite you to stand, and we'll say the prayer for protection together, and then we'll join hands and we'll sing the peace song together. But let's begin with the prayer for protection. Let's say it together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us wherever we are. God is. So as you're forming a circle, I want to thank you, Bodhi, for helping us out today with the daily word.
Great job.
And let's join hands. And when we're in a circle,
Where